let's just begin with the session. And the whole point of doing this webinar was to get to terms with the realities today. You know, maybe 10 years back, a webinar of this sort wouldn't have made sense, at least in the Indian context. But today, when we find that our lives actually depend on the Google search, so to say, I thought it was relevant that we did a small session for teachers, and with dual purposes actually. One purpose, the first purpose, of course, is to start using Google products in our lives, in our teaching profession. The other one was also to understand how our students are using Google and the Google products. Okay, so having said that, let's just begin with another poll. And okay, so the first thing that I wanted to ask you was, do you use Google for anything other than searching? Anything except search? Of course, all of you might be using Google for search, but do you use Google for anything else? Well, there are a lot of people who are saying yes, they use Google for other things, and I would love to see, love to listen to anyone who says that they use Google for anything else. So if you want, you can raise your hand. You can raise your hand and tell me what exactly do you use, or you can use the chat module to let me know what do you use. Okay, so I can see a couple of raised hands. Let me pass on the speaking rights to you. I hope you have the microphone with you. Okay, so I have passed on the speaking rights to Deepti.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. So what do you use Google for?
I do use for sharing photos through Picasa.
Wow. Okay.
And I do also use it for maps, for locations, directions. Okay. And apart from that, I am also connected with Orkut.
Okay, so let me just write it down. You said Picasa.
Yeah.
And what else did you say? Picasa?
And the Google Maps.
Photo sharing, okay, and maps. So what do you use maps for?
Oh, for directions, you know, I live in a huge city in Hyderabad, so somewhere far off places I don't know, so I would definitely, to know the distance and all, I would try.
Great, great. What else?
And then Orkut to connect with friends.
Okay. I am a little surprised that people still use Orkut. I didn't know that.
Off lately, but I've switched on to Facebook rather.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me just pass on to somebody else. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I can see another raised hand here. Rudrendra. Yes, Rudrendra.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Very clearly.
Well, sir, I use it for a couple of purposes. Like I use Google Drive for storing purpose. I sometimes use the Google Sites, and I had also used Google Presentation some days back.
Drive, presentation. So presentation is of course a part of the sorry, one second.
Yeah, I mean docs.
Yes, so it's a part of the
docs.
Yes, and so the other thing that you said was Drive. Drive is a part of Drive. Of course, is a new name for docs itself. So I guess you use that, right? Okay. All right, perfect. I've seen very few people using that, but let me come back to you later on. I'll pass it on to Sudha Ashok. Okay.
Hello, I'm nice to be talking to you. So I use Google for locating different maps in different locations, and then also to store photos in the Google, and then Yeah, while talking also, like Skype.
Oh,
My children are abroad, and so
right.
I do speak over Google.
Okay. So Google Talk is what you use sometimes.
Yes, that's right.
Perfect.
That's right.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So let me resume this. I'm a little happy that there are so many people using so much of Google products, and of course, lot of the community, lot of the teaching community, as well as everyone else, thinks that Google is equivalent to search. I mean, everyone thinks that search is Google and Google is search nowadays. So that is one point that I wanted to bring out, that Google is has also a lot of other things apart from search that we can use, and some of you have actually given out all those all those products that you commonly use. So let's just move on. I think I'll skip this because we've already listed down all those things. Other products from Google include, apart from everything else, you've mentioned Maps, you've mentioned, I'm surprised that people haven't mentioned Gmail, which is which is very pervasive nowadays, but of course I assume that everyone is on Gmail anyways. The point is how many of us use it in the classroom, but we'll come back to that later. I've heard a lot of comments and a lot of things about how do you use maps to navigate in your city, in a city like Hyderabad or Bangalore. I'm sure there is a lot of lot of help when you have Google Maps on your phone or on a laptop, and you can navigate the difficult city terrains, right? So that is one thing. Google Docs or Drive, as they call it now, has been used a lot by people for storing data. So as they call it, as a cloud storage. So you don't really need to worry about your hard drive being crashing, hard drive crashing every now and then, and so on. Now you can store everything on Google Drive. Of course, there are other services as well, apart from Google, that help you do the same. But we'll focus more on Google. Not that I have a strong affinity with Google, but it so happens that Google has so many products to offer that you can't help but go with it. And the most important aspect here is that you can do all of this with just one Gmail ID or Google ID, as they call it, right? So we'll proceed with that, and just to give you a glimpse of what Google offers, and a lot of you have actually mentioned stuff here. So some of you had mentioned Google Apps. Google Apps is, of course, a broader bouquet of services that Google offers. Google Talk. Sudha Ashok had mentioned that she uses Skype and Google Talk. Picasa has been used for photo sharing. Orkut, of course, is a little outdated now. Facebook has overcome, by far, Facebook has gone far ahead of Orkut in terms of usage. But I understand that there are quite a few users who are still on Orkut at times. So that is one area that I think we need to understand, that Google is far more than search. And let's see how we can use Google in our professional lives. All right, so let me just move on to the next slide. One moment, please. Okay, so Google Apps for Education. That is one thing that Google has been very, very positive in doing, and it has reached out to a lot of teachers around the world to help them use its products, which are completely free of cost for teachers. In fact, Google Apps for Education also has a very distinct feature in terms of not having any advertisements shown on a teacher account or a student account at all, which is very commendable. Normally you would find that applications that are served free of cost to any community have a lot of advertisements on it. But if you use Google Apps for Education, this is different from using Gmail from your personal account. Google Apps is actually a service which is offered to an institution. So if you want Google Apps for education, for your purpose, then you'll have to sign up as an institution and then offer Google Apps to all your students and teachers with your own domain name. So that's the whole difference here. Obviously, when you use Gmail using your personal account, you might be seeing a lot of advertisements. But as soon as you switch to a Google Apps for Education domain, so it could be Sudha Ashok at xyzschool.com, and all community members within that xyzschool.com will never see an advertisement from Google. So that's the whole difference. I'm also taking comments from people, and I see one comment which says, is it free of cost? Of course, that's the whole point. I mean, Google has been very, very forthright in giving you free of cost service if you're an educational institution. I had one more, yeah. So free of cost is, of course, there by Google, but the whole the rider is that you need to sign up as an institution, and there is a certain certain process of authenticating yourself first. So it's not just step 1, 2, 3 where you just sign up and say that I'm an institution and they give you an account. It's more of authenticating yourself first. So we'll come back to different other things here. I can see there is one raised hand. Let me just pass it on to Rupesh Sagar. Rupesh, do you have something to say here? Hello? Okay, maybe it was by mistake. So you can always raise your hand in case you have anything to add. But we'll move on. Let's move on to the next slide. So having said that, Google is far more than search, but I think it's important to understand search as well properly, because most of the times you would find that you don't really end up getting something that you were looking for in search as well. So let me just activate a small poll here once more, just to understand how well do you understand Google search. In fact, it could have been before this. Okay. So here's another poll. Do you get your desired results on the first page of Google search, or do you sometimes get it on the third page? Or I wonder whether people move to the third page at all. Most of the times people say that Google search ends on the first page. In fact, they say that it ends on the first half of the screen that you see. Okay, that's fairly. So I'll keep it on for the next 5 seconds and then switch it off. Okay, so let me just share the findings with you. 53% of you said always. That's almost half. Half of you could not find what you were looking for when you were searching in Google. You found it absent from the first page. That's a very alarming thing, because you spend so much time on searching for stuff on the internet, and if you don't find it on the first page, it's you get very disheartened, because it's complete wastage time in that case, right? So let me just show you. I hope you can see this slide. Let me see if you can see this slide. You can actually, okay. All right, so you can see the slide which says back to basics, search, right? The search, it has quite a few nice features that you can add. There are some things like if you want to search within a specific site. So if you come to Beyond Teaching and you wanted to search specifically for webinar schedules, you can actually say site : and then you say www.beyondteaching.com and then put in the search string, right? Webinars. Similarly, there are other things. A very important, though very rarely used stuff is the minus sign. You know, a lot of times you want to use a minus sign here. Search for Homer but not Simpson, or you could say, you know, I'm searching for um, malaria but not a cure. I can say search for malaria minus cure, or maybe malaria cure minus a specific medicine that I don't want in the search results. And of course, a lot of you might be using the next one, which is within quotes. Within quotes is of course a very important thing, because if you are typing something of a phrase, you don't want Google to give you specific word results. You would want Google to give you the exact phrase result. So that is something that is very helpful. We can see the other stuff here. The other thing that you may want to use on Google is addition, subtraction. You know, Google search is actually a calculator for you, and a very advanced calculator of that sort. So, for instance, if you want to find out some calculation, let me just actually show you instead of talking about it. I'll show you a search result that you can actually use. Let's go to I've actually shown a lot of I've opened a lot of tabs just to show you how Google search works. Of course, most of you would know how Google search works, but there is some interesting thing. For instance, if you wanted to find out what is the current weather in, let's say, Hyderabad. So I am going to type here weather and just wait for the results to come in. You know, so you can actually see that weather Hyderabad gives you a result which is directly at the top. I hope you can see my screen. Let me just check it. Yes. So weather in Hyderabad is currently, I hope the people from Hyderabad can verify that the weather is actually what is showing on Google. I guess it's quite pleasant, although it shows 42% humidity. So let me search for a colder place. Let's say Shimla. Let's see what is the weather in Shimla as of now. So you can actually, while we are doing this, you can actually look at your Google search. You can open a browser and keep doing this online while we are discussing this, because that's the best way to learn Google search. So you can see that Shimla has precipitation, which basically means that it's currently raining. There is 60% precipitation, humidity 80%. I guess it's quite pleasant. Befitting the hill station status. So that is one thing that you may want to, you know, we are focusing on how do you use Google in your classroom. So remember, we are always focusing on how to use it in the classroom here. So let's do some kind of calculation. Instead of using a calculator, you can actually say sine of 60, and it should give you the result here immediately. Sine 60 radians is this, and then of course you can convert it into degrees and so on. So this is actually a calculator that you see on your screen, which if you have a browser open and an internet connection, you don't really need to use a calculator separately. Of course, you know, your laptops or computers would have an inbuilt calculator, but this of course is very helpful. You can actually convert from one unit to another. You can simply type 5 feet 4 inches 2 centimeters, and I think it should give you the result. Yes. So look at how easy it is to search for things which, 5 feet 4 inches. You'll probably have to convert into inches or feet, and then convert into centimeters using a calculator. But here it understands the fact that feet and inches are separate. And please note that you can introduce a space in it, forget the space and so on, but it will still give you the same results, which is very difficult to do with a calculator. So this is something that will help you in your classrooms. It's a fairly advanced calculator that they have on Google already, so you can start using that. Let's move on to the next one. Excuse me. Okay. Now, oops. Okay, so we have seen, in fact, you can actually check flight status and everything, but although these things are more typical for a US geography than India, but I'm assuming that it will give you good results even in your locality. There is something that I picked up from the net. Of course, I should confess that most of the things that you see here on the presentation has been picked up from the net. So I am trying to quote wherever I've picked it up from. But this I found particularly useful if you want to put up a poster in your classroom or on the notice board of the school or college, so that people know how to use Google properly. So there are keyboard shortcuts. Control F is a very common shortcut to find something on a page. But there are other things like zoom in and zoom out. There are some of these which are specific to a particular browser, but most of them would work, screenshots and things like that. So these are the usual things. I would suggest that if you can afford to take a printout of this, this is available in different sizes, but this is a very nice poster that you could use in your classroom. Okay, somebody has commented, is it really effective to use Google search in school? I wouldn't understand. I didn't quite get the use of word effective. Are you trying to say that whether you should allow Google search in classroom in school, or are you saying is it effective enough? If you're saying that should it be allowed, I come from a background where I say that yes, it must be allowed. It must be allowed to search. In fact, a lot of schools today have the practice of allowing students to run to the computer lab. Of course, there has to be some supervision and the appropriate controls. You have a lot of softwares that allow you to control what students are looking at on your network. I understand the apprehensions in allowing students to go there, but there are a lot of softwares that allow you to do it. You can actually count the advantages and disadvantages as well. Sudha is absolutely right. Okay, Sudha had also asked whether Google Apps is only for education institutions or for an individual. It is for individuals as long as you're a part of an educational institution. So strictly speaking, it is only for educational institutions so that they can provide it for free to their members. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's move on. If you actually want a PhD in Googling, PhD in Googling meaning just half an hour of effort, but I suggest you should go through this site onlinephd.org/PhD in Googling. You can see that website address there on your screens. You can actually go there, and there will be a lot of interesting things that you would come across. In fact, Google is so dynamic in its developments that there are a lot of things that anybody could miss in a particular presentation like this. Tomorrow and day after, if you go to Google, you may find something absolutely new coming up, or something that can be removed. For instance, there used to be features like timeline in Google search. There used to be other features that have been withdrawn by Google and have been merged into other products. So you'll have to go to Google to find out what all new things are happening. Usually in all Google products, there is a labs link somewhere hidden. I mean, it's a small link somewhere. For instance, in Maps, you would see labs right at the bottom of the screen. You can actually click on labs and find out what else is happening in the Google's table. And people in Google are continuously developing more and more features that they later on decide to either keep or reject, but you can keep on looking at that. For instance, the thing on your screen right now, it says China population 2004 or 2005. It gives you results about either one of those years. Okay. Whereas if you don't put the OR word there, it will give you both years on the same page. So, there are a lot of uses of such connectors in Google. Let's move on. A little more serious stuff. A search challenge for your class. Let me click on this link and let's see what it comes up with. Basically, you can actually have interesting lesson plans using Google search. Imagine asking somebody, you take a photograph of a place that you visited in your holidays, and you give a couple of hints to the class. It's like it's like a quiz. You can give a hint to your class, that a couple of hints, and then ask them to Google for the answer. So I picked this up again from a Google resource. I see a couple of comments about whether you can get those links pasted here, or what we'll do is we will give you a recording of this presentation, which will have the voice as well as all the links that you see here. So you can actually you don't really need to note down anything. You will get the recording in due course of time. It usually takes a couple of days to put it up. All right. So this is a presentation again from Google, but it's basically for the lesson plans. So there is a project called a Google a Day. Okay, and let's see what it comes up with. So this lesson plan is on culture. There are different topics. It could be on math, it could be on science. This one is on culture. I picked it up. Now the question is, every national flag in the world shares a common geometric characteristics except for one country. Which country is it? Now this is a question that you can put to your students. Does anyone know the answer to this? You can, in fact, if you don't know, that's better, because then you can Google for it. Now the whole point is, what would you put in the Google search box to come up with the answer, so that it gives you the answer. Parag has given the right answer. I'm not going to give out the answer, but thank you, Parag. I hope you didn't use Google search for this. In fact, it would be really nice if you had really used Google search for this. Okay, you didn't use Google search for this, but you came up with the answer. Does anyone want to try out Google search? If you don't know, can you just open another browser window and see if you can actually find out the answer? Because this is where Google, this is where this particular presentation comes in. If we are able to search what we are looking for using simple English words, that is where you would add benefit to your add value to your students. If your students can find out these answers by using Google search, I think we have done our job. I'm sure all of us as academicians understand that the value of rote learning and memorizing has been going down drastically, because the information is available on the internet everywhere. But the key is to try and search for that information. I am still waiting for a couple of more answers from other people. Parag has, of course, given me the answer from his knowledge, but I'll be really happy if somebody can give me the answer using Google search. All right, let me just give you a hint, as they do in classrooms as well. Now, how do you search for this? So it says, sometimes you need to use words to search that are different from how you think of the question originally. You may have thought, you can't put that entire thing on Google search and expect to find an answer unless somebody has put that as a specific page on the web. So what word do you use to describe something that is one of a kind? Now this is where it gets interesting, because students now have to actually have some knowledge of some vocabulary as well, because one of a kind. Okay, I can see that Rudendra has come up with the right answer. There's another answer which I'm not sure if it is right, but we can always Google for the Taiwan flag and find out whether it is the right answer or not. Okay, so let's move on. The answer is, of course, Nepal. Now, what did you search for? If you had searched for something like which is the country that has a different kind of flag, it may not give you the right answer. But if you search for something like flag with an uncommon geometric design, very good. That's how Sudha would have got her answer. Or a unique country flag shape, country with a unique flag shape, and so on. So you can actually, a student who knows one of a kind is can also be unique. It can also be termed as unique. Then you may get the right answer. What national flag does not share a geometric characteristic? Okay, Pratishtha has given an interesting aside. The query was, what national flag does not share a geometric characteristic? Now, I think we should all search for Taiwan's national flag in Google Images and find out whether it actually is different or not. Can somebody do that for me, please? Or maybe I can just copy paste and find it out. And the answer was Taiwan. Okay. So I think we'll have to find out. Maybe if you can search for Taiwan. Let me do that actually. That would be interesting. So let's do Taiwan national flag. Okay, you can see that Taiwan national flag is actually not a very different from others. Images for Taiwan national flag you can see on your screen. They are pretty similar. I mean, similar meaning it may be a little squarish, but it's definitely not different from others like Indian flag. Whereas if I look for the Nepalese flag, it is definitely very different. You can see that on your screen now. I guess it takes some time to get on the screen. I can see. Oh, okay. Now you can see the screen here. Now the important point is, when you're doing this in classroom, you can actually talk about. Let me just go back to. Okay. Now you can actually talk about the next thing. I mean, why is it so? Why is the national flag so in Nepal? Okay, and the explanation is also given here, because all these explanations obviously you would find somewhere on the wiki or some result in Google. It says Nepal's flag is made up of two separate pennant-shaped flags. Blah blah blah. So you can actually go through it and make your students understand the reason why that's so and so on. Okay, so that is one. Absolutely. Sudha says that this type of question increases the curiosity of students to try it at home, and you can obviously give a lot of a similar thing could be done for coins. You can ask for different shapes of coins that were available in the world or in India, and you would come across, and you can give that as an assignment, and the students can come back and tell you different shapes. So it's become fairly common nowadays to use such kind of assignments. All right, let's resume, and the link is also given on the website on the presentation that you can see now. Okay, so you can see the link here. You don't have to copy it. Again, as I said, it will be available in the recording. You can always look at it there later on. All right. Moving on, there are a couple of other things that would be very interesting in a school or a college setup. One is the books.google.com project, which includes a lot of books that have been put on the web. You can actually, a lot of times you can actually go through the entire books if they're freely available, or you can at least look at the excerpts and then buy it off the web as well. So that is an interesting question about how do we make it popular in the rural areas where Wi-Fi connections are not available. Of course, that is something that our government has been fighting to have accessibility everywhere across India. And I must share your concern. I must also tell you that my own experiences in villages have been very surprising. There has been widespread internet penetration inside the rural areas as well. You would be surprised yourself when you go to some of the villages in remote areas. I went to this place where there were hardly any amenities, but they had a broadband connection inside the school. In fact, they also had 2 iPads which were donated by one of the NGOs working in that area. So things have been improving. I'm sure such things will always be a issue of concern, but let's hope that things improve very soon. All right, let's move on. Another very important Google product is the Scholars. And Scholar is basically for research projects where you want to quote certain articles or certain things to your audience. So you can quickly go to scholar.google.com and search for the relevant stuff here. I'll move on to now. Google Drive was mentioned by a couple of people. Google Drive, of course, includes Docs, and Docs includes things like spreadsheet, a Word document, a PowerPoint, PowerPoint application. And you can use that in the classroom as well. Let's look at how do you use that. I mean, this is more critical. So first of all, why should you use Google Docs? There are certain pointers to why should you use them. The first one, of course, is you can share things. Okay, so you can actually share things with your classroom. You can actually share things with the world. You don't really need to restrict it to your classroom itself. I mean, you can collaborate, and that's something that has been mentioned later on as well. You can actually collaborate with other classes across the world. There'll be a lot of sharing that happens across the world using Google Docs. In this particular example, you can see that there is a Project Everest proposal, and it has several highlighted portions here that you can see. Basically, what it means is that there are several students and maybe a teacher who is working on the project simultaneously. So simultaneous usage of the document. So students can be logged in from their homes and they can simultaneously be working on a document. It could be a homework assignment, or it could be simply a collaborative effort in creating something new. Another interesting thing is it stores the revision history. The entire history is stored in terms of who has edited what. So in case somebody has edited something and deleted somebody else's work, it is available as a revision, and you can always catch hold of such behavior if you go through the history of the document. And lastly but not least, it is on the cloud. On the cloud meaning that you don't really waste your hard drive resources for this. Anybody can access it, even from low-end devices. I mean, low-end meaning low-end, low in terms of memory, low in terms of storage. Now people can even use it using a tab or a multimedia-enabled phone. So all these things are possible. There has been some query. I'm just trying to get these queries here. Can we also have Google Blogs? Yes, of course you can have Google Blogs. In fact, blogs are a very nice way of encouraging writing skills in students. how can an edited or deleted document recovered? In Google Docs, the entire um, it runs on privileges and roles. So if you have created a document, nobody else can delete it unless you allow them to. So even though they can delete the content, which is, again, as I said, is available to you through revision history, but it can never be deleted unless you allow it to be deleted. Is there any threat of stealing the stored matter? There is always a threat of the passwords being shared, by passwords being leaked out, and so on. But as long as you're careful about changing your passwords every now and then, this should work. There is no issue about it. It is as secure or as insecure as your email account. I should put it that way. All right, so let's move on. And I found Google Docs extremely useful in classroom situations. Let me just give you more stuff. So you can actually create your own quiz, and we'll try to do that right away. A very simple quiz. Why would you want to do it? Why would you want Google Forms to be used? Google Forms is a part of the Google Drive. You can create simple forms without knowing anything about technology. You don't have to know anything about HTML and so on. Google makes it possible for you as a very, very elementary user of the internet to make your own forms and get responses. So why would you want to do it? You could do it for to know understanding of students in your classroom before a particular lesson. So you could actually give them a pre-lesson quiz that they have to do before the class. In fact, the best part is that you can also find out whether they've submitted things on time or not, because Google Forms gives you the exact timestamp of a submission of a response. You can use it to know them better. You can use it to know their hobbies and so on, which you may not get time in a structured classroom environment. Of course, you get an online record of progress, on a continual basis without any effort. You don't have to maintain reams of paperwork. It's all available nicely in your Google Drive. You can actually excite responses from parents as well, in case you have their email IDs, or which I guess a lot of schools share nowadays. You can actually talk to the parents in a very informal way and get their responses as well. You have the option of getting an anonymous feedback, and I'm saying in complete honesty, because Google will never tell you who has clicked where, unless you ask a user to give out his or her name. There is no way in which you can find out which user has submitted what feedback. Okay, and of course, you can conduct surveys, informal surveys or formal surveys. Okay, let me just quickly move over to Google Forms, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a Google form. Okay.